Hey everyone, Kraegan here. This is my Let's Play episode number 8 for Dyson Sphere Program. In this episode we are going to get our red cube production going strong. If you noticed in the last video, I didn't see it, but I figured out that I was not pumping oil into most of these refineries, and that's why my production of hydrogen and oil was so dismal. So I fixed that off camera, and by the time I started this new episode, we got production cooking along pretty good. Still not really producing enough of the energetic graphite to really boost our red cube production here, so I'm going to probably need to bump that up a little bit. But for now, we at least have the refineries working pretty well. As you can see, that conveyor belt on the other side that's feeding the power plants is kind of sparse. And I was going to see if I could rework this with a splitter. I'm still trying to work those into my designs, but I'm not finding a good way of using those yet in any of the stuff that I built. So I am going to be putting labs behind these three that I have set up here. So I'm going to have a conveyor feeding both of those buildings. Trying to figure out the best way to do this. I still want a storage facility so that I can drop the hydrogen into that so I don't back up production there. I'm just not really deciding on the best place to put it, I guess, is the problem. Let me just dump that back in there. There we go. Okay. I'm going to flatten this area a little bit. We need a little bit of space here for the conveyor belts to go around this structure and over to the other one. I am pretty happy with how the refineries are producing, though. They're doing really good, and it's good to have that refined oil going to some other purpose, because the first time I tried this, I basically just pooled it up in a liquid storage tank and it just sat there. So, and it kind of got in my way, and I actually deleted it and lost all the oil that was in it. So, lesson learned. Never delete those liquid storage tanks. So I'm going to set up my next row of labs. It's going to be 9 of them, just like we have up front here. 3 stacked on top of each other. I'm going to need more energized graphite, though. I'm not getting enough on this conveyor belt. That's going to be a problem. For now, let me set up my conveyors so that we can at least make sure that we have coverage for these 2 buildings. I don't have enough inventory space to delete that building, so I'm gonna have to find another way of moving that. One of those problems that you have to anticipate when you're building things like this. So let me do this. I'm going to run another conveyor belt off this way. And that way I'll stop putting stuff in this storage. And I'll probably just throw the stuff from the storage directly into the buildings, and then that way I can pare it down enough that I can actually get it into my inventory. So let me just fill these buildings up with hydrogen. And then that'll give me enough space to deconstruct that building. And it'll prime these buildings with hydrogen, which will be good. Alright. Looks good. Can I get rid of it? Yes. Perfect. Okay, so what am I going to do here? I could use the conveyor belt that I have, but I'm worried about that getting... As you can see right now, it's just stopped. Like, yeah, production is completely stopped because the whole belt is filled with hydrogen. So I put the storage facility down to alleviate that problem. The extra goes into storage, and then it'll come out when, you know, when there's a production demand. And eventually, hopefully, there will be more going to production than goes in the storage, and then it'll kind of even things out. But for now, let's just keep putting it back into storage. It's probably the best thing to do. And we'll have another conveyor belt run around the other side so that we can feed both these buildings with hydrogen. Connect that up. Make sure hydrogen's getting released from the... It's not going to need to go into those buildings because I just basically just bombarded them with a bunch of hydrogen, so it'll just need to, it'll start filtering into the buildings behind here, which is okay. The more we have in there, the more red cubes we're going to generate, and we're going to need a bunch of those for research. So, and those generally build slower than the blue cubes. You can get your blue cube production pretty high, but the red cubes seem to be more of an issue. Alright, that looks pretty good. Our entire hydrogen conveyor belt is filled with hydrogen right now. So we'll position these sorters in a way that it will... Boy, you know what? We could position these sorters in a way that it'll actually feed both buildings, and then we don't have to have the extra conveyor belt on the other side. I'll have to make that change here in a minute. I want to just make sure that everything's hooked up. Looks like everything's hooked up. Why is that stopped right there? What is that doing? I'll just refill the storage. The stuff I had in my inventory. Well, I mean, that's looking pretty good. Over here in this section of ocean here is where we're going to put our matrix labs that will be doing the research. So we'll be transporting blue and red cubes, hopefully about equal distance, to this middle portion where the matrix labs doing the research will be. And they'll consume the cubes and do the research. Now we're gonna need some soil, and probably it looks like some iron bars, iron ingots. But we're definitely gonna need some soil to get this whole thing built, because we're gonna be burying a bunch of sea, or water, I guess you could say. So we're gonna need a bunch of soil, so we'll have to find some high ground to level, so that we'll have all the soil we need to create that little man-made island. But that should not be a problem. Yeah, it looks like maybe the red cubes might have a little less distance to travel than the blue, but that's fine. Those are slower to produce anyway, so a smaller, a smaller journey to the lab, probably a better thing. Alright guys, well I'm going to end the episode here in just a little bit. Stay tuned for episode 9, where we're going to continue on the research in that episode. Hopefully we'll get it completed. If not, we'll get really close, and we will continue towards our research goal of having a fully powered and automated research station for blue and red cubes, so we can research the next level of technology. So with that said, leave a like, comment, subscribe. This is Kraegan. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.